meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Here.
Mr. Denton, Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item will be the statement by the Board Vice President, Mr. Steve Majors.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Steve Majors.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, number 4, the adoption of the agenda. Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette, Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item will be the oath of office to swear in our newly elected Zone 4 representative board member, Ms. Brandy Roulette.
Everybody be quiet.
Repeat after me. I, Brandy Roulette, hereby declare under oath
I, Brandy Roulette, hereby declare under oath
that I will faithfully perform the duties of board member of Broken Arrow Public Schools,
that I will faithfully
perform the duties of Broken Arrow, of board member
of board member of Broken Arrow Public Schools
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge all of the duties
discharge all of the duties
pertaining to said office
pertaining to said office
and obey the Constitution
and obey the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and Oklahoma.
and Oklahoma.
I'm going to give a loyalty oath.
You're almost there.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oklahoma,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
and I will faithfully discharge
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
or employment
or employment
during such time as
during such time as
I am a member of the Broken Arrow Board of Education.
I am a member of the Broken Arrow Board of Education.
Dilly dilly.
Ms. Roulette, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. I don't know if you know what you got yourself into, but no.
You got 5 years of it in you.
Yeah.
And
We're
here we
very
go.
excited to serve with you and be a team member to work alongside you and for the betterment of the district. Do you have any special guests, anyone you'd like to recognize this evening that's joined you?
Well, sure. My husband and my son are out there, and my parents and my sister-in-law.
Outstanding. Well, congratulations. Next item will be item number 6, will be the reorganization of the board. Everyone, I think, has had some conversations in committees. Does anyone want to change? Discussion?
I make a motion to make Steve Allen the president.
And I'll second that motion.
Let's do, why don't we go ahead and do them all at one time, if there's one
Okay.
motion, if you want to do that. Okay. Just, me president, and then you go ahead and make the motion for you as vice president.
I make my own motion for
No.
me.
No, it will be one motion for all the,
Okay.
all of them.
What are you saying? I'm gonna be the vice president?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I make a motion that I'm the vice president.
And
I make a motion that Jerry Denton will be the board clerk. Motion that John Cockrell will be the deputy board clerk. And Brandy Roulette will be member.
do we have a second?
Second that motion.
There you
Got a
go.
motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item will be number 7, will be the approve or disapprove of the Board of Education Code of Ethics and Conduct. I trust everyone has read that. I'm not going to read it to you. Do you have a motion to approve or disapprove?
I make a motion to approve the Board of Education Policy 1040 Code of Ethics.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item, number 8, will be discuss the meeting minutes from March 11th. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item, number 9, Mr. Dunn.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. Mrs. Roulette, welcome, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's always fun as the athletic director to get to come up here and introduce a group of student athletes, a very special group of athletes who have accomplished great things both in the state and across the country. Tonight, the first group that I have the privilege of recognizing is the varsity cheer program, who in 2019 won the UCA Game Day National Championship down in Orlando, Florida. So I want to introduce the head coach, Coach Amy Howe, who after this season decided to resign her position as the head coach, has done such a tremendous job of building this program. 18 years involved in the program, bringing 6 state championships back to Broken Arrow, 3 national championships. And so I want to bring Coach Howe up here to the podium, let her introduce her staff, and also welcome these kids across the stage. And then hopefully we can take a picture with the board when she wraps up. Coach Howe?
Thank you very much, Coach Dunn, and thank you to the school board for your support of our program and Dr. Dunlop over the years, and our administration at the high school as well. Some of our parents who are here in the back who are amazing, and there are cheerleaders throughout the year, and we can't do what we do without you guys. So you're a rock. So we love you guys. Can't say enough about my assistant coach, Alicia Palmer. I had the privilege of coaching her as a cheerleader. She's gonna cry. I was very young. But I got to coach her for 3 years, so she is amazing and has done such a great job for our program over the past few years. The kids are, can't really look at them without crying, but they are my kids. These are my kids, and these are a wonderful, wonderful group of kids, and probably, no offense, one of the best groups that I've had the pleasure of coaching over the years, except for Alicia. She's amazing. Great group of kids. Not only are they great athletes, they are great scholars. A lot of them are in AP classes, concurrent classes, hold really, really high GPAs. So we're really proud of them for all they do, because they really don't get time off. This is year-round for them. Talking about our national championship really quickly, the UCA Nationals in Orlando has over 19,000 athletes that come, and this year there are about 950 teams from 29 states and 12 countries. So to come out on top in one of our divisions was a really, really big deal and something we're super proud of. We were also featured on ESPN a couple weeks ago, which was really exciting. A portion of our routine was shown on there as well, so that was really cool. Anyways, I'm going to let the kids introduce themselves and what grade they're in. And we love you guys, and we're super proud of everything that you've done over all the years that we've had you. So come on up. Our first is our captain. She is also representing Broken Arrow at the All-State Games this summer. Yeah.
Brenna Humphrey, Senior. Zoe Zarecki, Senior. Maddie Farlow, Senior. Savannah Sawyer, Senior. Caitlin Williams, Senior. Kendall McCaslin, Senior.
Cheyenne Clum, Senior.
Blake Code, Senior.
Taylor Snelling, Senior. Alexandria Cockrell, Junior. Alexandra Vallada, Junior. Trinity Murray, Junior. Haley Floyd, Junior.
Robert Armstrong, Jr.
Alex Mullins, Junior.
Aaliyah Cassidy, Sophomore. Peyton Seagrave, Sophomore. Evie Turner, Sophomore.
She has heels on.
Carly Krisilevich, Sophomore. Kirsten Green, Sophomore. Brooke Martin, Sophomore. Riley Grunhoff, Sophomore.
And you'd never know they were cheerleaders by how low they talk, but.
All right. Number 10, item number 10, Mr. Dunn.
Yes, sir. Second group of athletes that I get to present to the board tonight to be recognized is our wrestling team, who this year won the Triple Crown of Oklahoma High School Wrestling, winning the dual state championship, the Class 6A East Regional, and the Class 6A State Tournament. A feat that this bunch, probably from a points perspective, a number of qualifiers going to the state tournament, just really made history. So proud of them. A great group of student athletes as well who were in contention for the academic state title this year. So very proud of this group. I'm going to introduce our new head wrestling coach, Rod Jones. If you come up here, Rod, if you welcome him up here to the podium. Coach Sean, who wasn't able to be here tonight, he's at his second job, which is going to be his new job coming up. Coach Sean led this program for 14 years and spent 23 years in education. And the heights that this program has reached under his leadership are really just super impressive. And Rod has been here every single day of that journey. And so it was the most obvious choice for him to lead this program. It's a nationally known program. It's a humbling experience for him, and we have the utmost confidence in what he's going to do for this program. So, Rod, I'm going to let you introduce these athletes. And, guys, when you get introduced, if you'll just walk down across the front of the board here.
Thank you, Coach Dunn. Thank you, Dr. Dunlop, for having us. Thank you, School Board. Thank you, School Board President Steve Allen, for having us. It's a really good group of guys. Obviously, you hear that a lot about championship teams. Everybody says it's a good group of guys or a good group of girls, but it really is, and it has to be. The reason you hear that a lot, anytime you recognize a championship team, is because a championship team has to be a good group of young student athletes, boys or girls, because usually if they're not, then they're not winning championships. Introduce these guys as they come along. Blake Allen, a senior. He's we're gonna walk across.
Gonzalez.
Oh, Blake Gonzalez is a senior. What I say? Blake Gonzalez, third in the state this year as a senior. He's a two-time state placer. And as the state tournament goes along, there's a number of different matches that pop up in my head from the competition. And Blake's, obviously, he won a big overtime match to put himself in the finals of the state tournament, which really, really helped out the team in the team's pursuit for a state championship. He was down late in the match and had to come back heroically, and then gets a takedown in the overtime and ends up state runner-up. Emmanuel Skillings with the trophy. 182-pound sophomore state champion. 182-pound sophomore state champion. Really excited about the future for Emmanuel. He has a lot of opportunities coming up. He's working hard. He's in the weight room, obviously. He's 182 pounds at the state tournament. I think he's somewhere around 208 pounds now. His mother's in the back, and I was talking to her, and she says she's having a hard time feeding him, which is understandable. William Martin wrestled for us at the dual state championship, anywhere from 145 to 170. William wasn't on the regional lineup to qualify for state, but he did win a big match for us at the dual state tournament. He's a junior, and he will be back next year, and we're looking for big things from William. Gavin Potter's a senior. Gavin's a two-time state champion, and this year he finishes third for us. But even looking back, third place, two-time state champion. Gavin showed that what he was made of, that he has a lot of character by losing that match and then finding himself no longer with the ability to be the state champion, but now he fights back and wins a big match, pretty much not for himself, but for his team. And all our guys do that through. You go back to a state tournament. How do you win a state championship? Is basically everybody that's there is giving it their max effort, and Gavin definitely did that this year for us. You want to save her to the last? You want to go now? Allison Hines is a sophomore. Allison Hines just competed at the end of the season in the United States Wrestling USMC age level national tournament in Oklahoma City, where for the third year in a row she's a national champion in her age division in her weight class. And it kind of goes unnoticed. She wrestles and competes in her weight class, her age level, but the following day she'll also compete in the age bracket, the age level up from hers, and she goes on and places 5th at the national tournament in the age category. A lot of exciting things ahead for her, obviously, with the girls program that we're going to get started. Excited about her future and see what she can do being the trailblazer for girls wrestling in Broken Arrow. Next up is Chris Moore's 145-pound junior, moved here actually from the state of Washington, the Evergreen State. He was a starter for us all year. Wasn't a state qualifier for us, but he's kind of understanding the differences between Washington and Oklahoma when it comes to wrestling, and obviously expecting big things for him in the future. Bryce Cockrell, junior, 106-pounder. How much you weighing now, Bryce? About 140? 140. Bryce Cockrell, junior, 106-pounder. Finishes third for us. We had high expectations for Bryce going into the state tournament, and sometimes you kind of stumble, and Bryce stumbled a little bit early in the tournament, then he comes back strong, ends up defeating the guy that beat him in the first round of the state tournament to place third in his weight class to help his team win a state championship. So very proud of Bryce. Jared Hills, a sophomore, wrestled 120. He's another guy. You see this with wrestlers after wrestling season's over. You see that they put on quite a bit of weight, which is okay. All right, we encourage that. He was a 120-pounder, and he's getting pretty big now. We're anxious to see what he can do up a couple weight classes. He's a two-time state placer, and he was a state runner-up for us this year at the state tournament. Ty Roselle is a junior. 160 pounder. Ty was a state qualifier and made it to the round. If he would have won that round, he would have been a state placer. So he was very close to being a state placer for us. But he did score points at the state tournament and contributed to the team's effort of being state champions. Bryce Machota, junior. Bryce is a junior. There's a lot of Machotas that have came through. There's still Machotas to go. Bryce is a junior. He was a 170 pounder. Bryce is a 2-time state runner-up. 3-time state placer. You placed as a freshman, so he's a 3-time state placer. And really, really, I mean, for all of these young athletes, there were high expectations for Bryce going forward next year, not only in wrestling, but in football as well. Jackson Cockle, last but not least, come on up. Junior, twin brother, actually triplets. Jackson's triplets with Bryce, and their sister came by here a second ago. Was your sister involved? Yeah, there she is. All three of them are in the house. Jackson was a junior, 113-pounder, state runner-up. A really good effort this year. And looking across there, it looks Gavin's a senior and Blake's a senior. So we're really excited about the future of Broken Arrow Wrestling, not only within our program, but even the girls' program. And once again, speaking on behalf of the team, thanks for having us.
Hey, Coach Rod, I wanted to say thank you for your leadership, your brother's leadership for all the 14 years. In my time at Broken Arrow, this is the best team I've ever seen assembled at Broken Arrow High School. And Blake Gonzalez, you might have had the most exciting match I'd ever witnessed in wrestling in that match. I turned it off watching track wrestling and thought you'd lost. Next thing I know, I get a text you won. So awesome, exciting stuff. But congratulations to all of you. And Ms. Hines, you got big shoes. Get that women's program going for us. All right. Yep. Like, would you go overtime or something and got to take down that? You were down 4 points with 6 seconds left. 6 points. All right. Y'all don't have to leave. You can stay. Miss Cockrell. Oh, okay. Next item, number 11, Mr. Kennellet.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, Board. As we move forward in our esports program, we're getting ready to implement in the fall our computer games sport. One of the things that we needed to reach out and get was gaming computers, and gaming computers are a little bit more built-up computers. They cost a little bit more, and we do a lot of business with Dell Computer, and with the support of Mr. Stout and Mr. Shihada, we were able to reach out to Dell, and they have donated 4 gaming computers to us at a value of $7,624.36. And I'd like to ask that you accept that donation tonight.
Make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, 12, Mr. Tolomeo.
Good evening. I'm here to ask for you guys to accept the donation of $1,500 from Manhattan Construction. Broken Arrow Freshman Academy would like to start improving one of their courtyards outside their campus, and they did a project and they raised some money, and they needed about $1,500 more to complete the project. So Manhattan has graciously stepped up to help them out.
Make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you. Next item, 13. Are you doing this, Bob?
I'm going to do this one. A couple years ago, the PTA at Rhodes Elementary School donated a buddy bench and an outdoor classroom sort of layout out there at Rhodes. They have stepped up and asked if they could help contribute to shade structure out there. We have Miss Beard, Miss Ross, and Miss Cook with Rhodes PTA in the back. Right. And with the help of Mr. Crawley, they've been able to make that goal a possibility this year. And one of their parents is actually helping. Mr. Steve Sims with JEI has given us a really good deal on a shade structure out there. So between them and the Rhodes PTA, we're able to shade that buddy bench.
Awesome.
Love it.
Discussion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you. Item 14, comments from the public. We have none. We'll go to item 15. Reports to the board will be, is it Kristen Brown?
Kristen.
From the BAEA.
Good evening and welcome. I'd like to say a special congratulations to Mrs. Brulette. We go back a long way. We were Tigets together and lieutenants back in 1992. So I would like to say congratulations. She'll do a fabulous job. She was an Oliver parent, was where I've been teaching for a long time, and she was a great PTA person, great to the staff, great to the students. So we will appreciate working with you this year.
Thank you.
BAEA is proud to begin our negotiations with the district's team starting May 7th, so we're looking forward to that. And our negotiations team is myself as a chief negotiator, and then we have Meg Warren from the high school. She's our Tigett head coach. And then we have Rachel Christie. She's going to be our third member of our team. And then we have Margaret O'Daniel. She is our treasurer, and our secretary tonight's not here. So I just wanted to welcome them as well tonight. We have started our Tigers Take the Capitol initiative just as last week, where we're sending teachers to the Capitol to talk about funding for our students. So we have been very busy with testing and getting to the Oklahoma City Capitol. So we look forward to an exciting year ahead and a strong finish to this school year. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marvelous.
Item 16, Mr. Tolomeo, you're back up.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm here to present the quarterly construction report. I'm pretty excited about this one. We have quite a few things going on. So in the past couple years, since 2015, we've completed all of Phase 1 bond projects. We've also completed the last 2009 bond project of the Performing Arts Center and child nutrition renovations, which they paid for themselves. Currently under construction, we have the central on-main window replacement and the stadium lighting upgrades, which were paid for with remaining bond funds from the Phase 1 allocation. Under programming, we have new elementary school 16, the transportation canopy, high school STEM Innovation Center, and the vocational agricultural facility. Central on-main windows, we are finally starting with the historic portion of this building. In fact, we rounded the corner today, and we will do all the front windows and turn around back. We should be done end of May. I know it's been a long process. We're coming close to being complete. The stadium lighting upgrades, we have actually moved all of Memorial's lighting over to the track and field, and that field is now fully functional, fully lit. So nighttime practices, we'll have 2 fields available for nighttime practices. As it gets hot in the summer months, we'll be able to do a lot of different things and schedule a lot of different things and utilize our space a lot more efficiently. At Memorial Stadium, this is a little bit of the geek in me, but the picture on the left, that is actually the anchor bolts for the new 120-foot poles. Those anchor bolts are as big as a skid steer behind it. They are rather large, and it's a pretty big foundation. It's about 20 feet deep, 4 foot in diameter. And the light poles have arrived, and the light poles on the east side will be set later this week, and all the lighting has arrived. Elementary School 16, that is on the board agenda, the civil GMPs for tonight. We're excited about this one. This is going to be very fun. We have blocks sort of falling off the building. Theoretical blocks are not really going to be falling. And we are going to bid an outdoor classroom as an alternate with a cistern, solar panels, wind turbines, and a lot of different learning tools for the kids. It will really be a fun elementary school. We take that block falling into the interior of that school and that lobby picture. We have blocks falling out of the ceiling. At Timber Ridge, we have that big tree. We're doing sort of a block theme for this school. And then the picture on the right is the gym. It will also double as a FEMA safe room designed to ICC 500 codes. And then we did the same sort of wayfinding on the interior and exterior with the colors of the pods. So the young kindergartens that are in the orange pod will be able to find their way to the orange pod without signage. And then we have our typical classrooms and our cafeteria. The Innovation Center, this is actually something we're really, really excited about. We've spent past 3 months programming with different groups. We are actually going to put VOAG out here as well. So everybody got really excited when they started talking about the collaboration that can happen between STEM and animal sciences and VOAG and the pond that's out here. And I have a short little video talking about the design charrette process. We did a design charrette with both kids and adults and learned quite a bit from the kids on what they want to see, and we'll play it for you guys. It's real short, it's about 3 minutes.
Is going to be a brand new facility that truly encompasses science, technology, engineering, and math into a multidiscipline facility that really encourages collaboration amongst all the students as well as the teachers.
From my perspective, the STEM Innovation Center is going to open up so many opportunities for project-based learning and for students to really be able to dig in and get their hands dirty. It's really to instill inspiration and innovation into the kids, give them a space that's different than their typical classroom learning setting.
It's going to allow them to explore and to really delve into problem solving and the innovative process, teach them how to communicate those skills, to design, and those basic skills that they need for success out in the world today.
So the design charrette process is really where we can get a glimpse into what the teachers, community members, as well as the students are truly thinking about what this facility can possibly become.
I honestly really did enjoy the process. We had the different cutouts put onto magnets and everything, so we were able to put them together on the board. It was almost just like playing with Legos, but on a 2D scale. Like, you were able to assemble it, you were able to put the shape into it. You had everything that you could. Like, even with dry erase markers, you could go and add something that you missed before.
I think the charrette process has been a really innovative approach to an innovative building, which is what needs to happen. I think that the curriculum is going to benefit from the way that this design process will open up a collaborative area and workspaces and maker spaces.
And I think it's going to, one, set people up for like college and more exposure to different careers, but second, it's going to set up vocational activities for students that don't necessarily want to go to college to have a skilled trade and can impact our communities completely, to have job security, and it can hopefully alleviate other issues like within our community now that we have.
I am most excited about the fact that our students will have access to hands-on learning that's relevant for a career that they feel when they graduate from what they know.
I'm excited about finally seeing it come to fruition. We've talked about it for many years. Our brothers have supported the STEM Innovation Center, and I'm excited to see what it turns out to be and how we accommodate for curriculum. We have so many great ideas and so many great teachers in this district, and it feels
teacher's perspective, a space like this is going to break down the silos between teachers and also teachers and students. It's going to open up for a lot of collaboration, and that is going to be epic.
Broken Arrow is really excited, and we're excited to be sharing this experience and going through this design process with them to create a new facility that is one of a kind, unlike any other, that can really facilitate how education is changing towards the future.
So what we really learned from this process was the building's great. You have to have the building, and what's inside is really important. But what the kids want most, and what was in every single, this was the students' boards, what every single one revolved around was the outdoor space. There's a natural pond out there, and they are craving that connection and that feeling and being able to do what they do outside and be able to learn outside and take real world, like testing the pond water and things like that. And they're really craving that portion of it. And it was actually very refreshing. One of the students said, "This isn't going to be a traditional building. We don't want it to look like a traditional building. We're not going to learn traditionally. So everything needs to be flexible. Everything needs to be movable." So we're kind of taking that motto of this doesn't need to be a traditional looking, feeling space, and we're kind of taking off with that. So that's really what we learned the most about.
You know, I have to say one of the things that I think is really cool is that we've all seen STEM buildings, or maybe all of us haven't, but we have an idea of what a STEM building would look like. This is different than anything I've ever seen. I can't say that I've ever seen a district that joined this, you know, the VOAG or the animal science portion in with what we see as traditional in STEM. And I think that if we rely more on our students instead of adult preconceptions of what STEM should look like, that we'll probably end up with something pretty amazing and dynamic here. It's pretty cool.
It's really exciting. It's been a great process that WRA has taken us through, and it's been a lot of fun.
Mr. Tolomeo, you talked with regards to the STEM Center. When, because you know people have been wanting that, we've been saying it's coming. When do you expect it to be completed?
We will bid it out this time next year, and this time next year we'll start moving dirt, and it'll take a full year to construct. So it'll come online August of 2021, so the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay. So the VOAG will be at the same time, or is that
The VOAG will be built in conjunction with this. We kind of took those two projects, and after talking about it internally and all of the benefits, that VOAG can bring to STEM and relationships, we kind of married those two projects. And when we started talking to the VOAG teachers, they have to show so many things on film because they call it the farm, is so far away from their building that they can't show their students the correct way to secure a cow or to give a cow a vaccine. So that relationship that teacher has to show videos can then take them right across the pond and show them actually how to secure a cow. Where we've been trying to get in contact with a couple people at OSU to talk to their vet med program and see that relationship there, and if they utilize their VOAG and vet med in conjunction, seeing how they do it. This has been obviously being from the STEM background. I'm geeking out a lot about this project. Do you guys have any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, next item, Dr. Dunlop.
Yes, this item, I'm sorry. Okay. Ready? Okay, so every summer, our Board of Education and our leadership team gets together for a retreat. It's not a vacation, trust me, but we get together. It's a working retreat where we do a lot of planning, not only for the coming school year, but for years coming. It's more of a strategic planning group. And so this item is to schedule that special meeting, which will fall on, recommendation is June 27th and 28th. And I will turn it over to the board for discussion.
Okay.
27, 28? Those dates work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing we will do too is at the retreat, we're gonna try to have a topic or an item of setting that date a year in advance so everyone is clear on that date instead of trying to figure it out within a couple months prior to the deal.
That'll work.
Event, so.
Gives everybody plenty of time.
Yep, to plan.
Yep.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll
the
second that
January-
motion.
June 27th and 28th for the board retreat.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette? Yes. Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item 18 will be the consent agenda items 19 through 89. Any discussion?
Everybody have voting buttons before on the last one?
I have it written down if you didn't get
Okay.
it, sorry.
I make a motion to approve the general consent agenda items 19 through 89.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette? Yes. Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item number 90, Ms. Kearns.
Good evening. Policy Council has met for the last time this school year, and tonight we bring you changes for first reads, so you will have the opportunity to review these and ask any questions during the next month that you may have over any of the suggested changes. Two things that I wanted to bring your attention to in section 1, we are asking that there's some leeway on the first reading. As our policy stands right now, it mandates a first reading every time. Sometimes that is not possible if it's following a legislative change. We need to comply with the law as quickly as possible, so we have added that language for your consideration. The second thing is the district sick bank. So we have known for quite some time that how we handle sick donations sometimes is very inequitable among people. If you may get 200 days donated to you, you may get 2 days donated to you. It just kind of depends. So Mr. Stecker and Karen Schwab, our benefits guru of the district, held a separate committee aside from Policy Council, so there would be representatives from all levels to have voices in this bank, and I feel very comfortable, and it has been approved by RFR, to create a bank to where you can join as a membership, and then it's equitable for everyone should you need those days donated to you, that we have a good policy and guidelines of how that would work for regardless of who you are within the district, that everyone have the same access to that. So a lot of work and time went into that, which we greatly appreciate and we're pretty proud of. So we will be voting on that in May.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item 91, Mr. Ptolomeo. You shouldn't have got sat down.
I'm here to seek your approval to accept Seltzer Schaefer Architects as our architect for the Childers Middle School project. We have Hank Speaker, Jason Coffer, and Nick Forthman with Seltzer Schaefer in the audience with us.
Discussion? Entertain a motion.
I'm wiped out.
You are.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Okay.
You don't have any voting rights, voting
No,
buttons?
He's back in
It-
there.
it
I had
just-
a blue screen
It
here.
glitched on him.
Okay.
Give him 1 second.
Trying to find it, it ain't on there.
I have it manually if you want to move on to the next one.
Oh, well, we'll just do
Just
it
take
old
a
school.
minute.
Yeah, we'll do it old school.
Okay.
Number 92, Mr. Tolman.
I'm here to seek your approval for Joseph Enterprise, Inc. for a canopy over the fuel tank islands at Transportation for $159,437.
Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Entertain a motion to approve the bid submitted by Joseph Enterprises.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. All right. Number 93, Mr. Tolman.
I'm here to seek your approval for the bids that were opened for the civil package for elementary 16 in the amount of $2,346,510.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 94, Mr. Moore.
Good evening. I'm seeking your approval of bid received for a HVAC summer project at the high school from Airco in the amount of $237,814. When we went out for bids, we had a pre-bid meeting, had 3 companies come, but then we only received 1 bid back, which does worry us. So we contacted all 3 companies again to make sure the specs were correct for them and find out why they didn't bid. They all gave us reasons that didn't have anything to do with the specs, whether they didn't get information back from their vendors or they didn't have a good timeline to do it. It is under our budget, so we feel it's comfortable to accept it, so we'd like for you to accept that bid.
Discussion. Entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next, item 95, Ms. Peterson.
Good evening, Dr. Dunlop, President Allen, and members of the board. I am here seeking your approval on our updated gifted policy. There's only one part that we actually updated, and that is how we are identifying our elementary students. Last year, we adopted a new gifted screener. In so doing, we are great at identifying our Category 1 students, but when we adopted that new screener, I guess looking back, hindsight being 2020, we needed to make sure that we had identified measures to identify students that were Category 2. Category 1 means that they are intellectually gifted. They're in the 97th percentile and above on that test. And Category 2 means they're academically gifted. So there may be an area on a subtest that they're showing giftedness. And so we added 3 criteria within the gifted policy just to identify Category 2 kids.
Discussion or questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, item 96, Mr. Perry.
Thank you, President Allen, members of the board, Dr. Dunlop. Bring to you a calendar revision from our original one that was approved last month for the 1920 school year. I did make a miscalculation on the start date in regard to the number of days we needed to be within October 1st child count with our federal nutrition guidelines. It was a mistake that could have cost us $600,000 if we stayed on the original date. And so we had to move the school starting date to Wednesday, the 21st of August, so it moved it back a week. And that puts us as our last day of school with no snow days at the 22nd of May. And the only other change to get to that point was the February 17th President's holiday. We are going to be in school that day. So if we make it to the 22nd with no snow days, we'll end on that Friday. If we have snow days afterwards, it gives us 4 that week to work with without going into June. So it's a calendar I feel like is pretty close. Everything else stays the same, the one that you approved last month.
Certainly understand the issue.
Yeah, we need the money.
Yes.
But this is already out there though, right? The other one?
We have pulled it. We pulled it.
Okay.
We've known for quite some time, not shortly after our child nutrition department caught it. It was funny. It was a day or two off from where we've started the last couple years, and the way the days fell, and it didn't work out the way we've done in the past.
Certainly understand.
Sure. Make a motion to approve?
Second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Appreciate it.
Next item, number 97, Natalie Hino.
Good evening, Dr. Dunlop, President Allen, members of the board. March financials. State aid is coming in as projected, and before we get too excited about the jump in state aid, just a reminder, this went to fund the teacher pay raises, and this was all calculated into the formula, so we didn't just exponentially grow in our state aid calculation. This was a very targeted focus for those funds. Ad valorem, about $1 million of growth in this area as our valuation as a district has continued to grow and really outpace what we expected in this area. And other state sources, as our state aid has increased the flexible benefit allowance that goes to pay our employees' health insurance follows that raise, and so saw an increase in that category as well. Building fund, again, ad valorem, very strong in this category, and that follows what we see in general fund. And child nutrition, she's pretty much on track with where she's collecting in state and local and federal claims. General fund expenditures, obviously the biggest hike that we've seen in this is with salaries and benefits, with the mandated raises for both our certified and support folk. And you can see that effect in building fund. Everything else really in building fund is such a targeted fund for what we're restricted, what we can pay in this fund as far as utilities, few salaries and benefits for our maintenance and plant operation staff, and then just the supplies necessary to keep our buildings well maintained. And in child nutrition, she's doing an excellent job of continuing to run a very successful program with the funds that she has available, and none of her expenses or supplies, workers' comp, anything touches general fund. It's very important to remember. And April 1 has come and gone, and that is kind of the district spending cutoff, so we can begin to try and finalize fund balance projections, actual expenditures, actual cash on hand, and so we'll be keeping a close eye on that through the end of the fiscal year.
Ms. Enoff, what, from the state aid, you know, with the raise and everything, have they held up their end of the deal of funding it properly?
Yes.
That's good.
We are monitoring legislation through the last few weeks of the session because there are some proposals on changing some weights in the funding formula, and so we're monitoring those very closely because, as we all know, as bills progress through the Senate and the House floor, a lot of things can change and have impacts on school districts, and even the slightest change can have a very big impact on our funding formula.
So in particular, Senate Bill 362 the way it's currently written, what would it end up
The way it's
costing us?
The way it's currently written, I'm projecting could be anywhere from a decrease for the district of $500,000 to $1 million, depending on how some of those weights are
Is that
changed.
Stanislavski's, or whatever his name is?
Stanislavski. And that was really at the State Aid Task Force. Some of the task force recommendations were not written into the engrossed language of the bill, and so we're currently reaching out to our local legislators and sharing our concerns. The other concern with that bill is they're kind of throwing around some numbers of what they would put into the formula to fund that and to hold districts harmless, and we're just not quite sure that $60 million is going to cut it.
Okay. What's our percentage where we're funded locally versus state? What's the percentage?
It's close to 50-50. State is slowly catching up to what ad valorem has been, but because of the past cuts in recent years, it's kind of equalized. State used to really outdo locally, but our valuation is growing so quickly, we're getting a lot more through local tax dollars.
Well, and again, it's also misleading that even though the state's catching up, most of those dollars are earmarked for the teacher pay raises. So it's not like we have a lot of money in our funding formula to do other things.
Correct.
And we absolutely want it to go to the teachers, but we need that additional monies to go into our funding formula to be able to even get close to starting to catch up.
Correct.
Questions? Nope. Okay, next item 98.
Next item is to ask the board to approve a budget increase to child nutrition operating budget by $800,000. This will allow Ms. Goodacre to properly plan and prepare for summer feeding and get the supplies and commodities that she needs.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item 99.
Next item, I'm very excited to present the Volleyball Booster Club sanctioning request to the board. This is another one of our groups that have decided to take the leap of faith into sanctioning and implement that for their next school year, and we're very excited to support them and help them be successful in this.
Discussions.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item.
Last item is football has also decided to request sanctioning from the board.
Discussion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item 101, Mr. Dolahan. Miss Dolahan, sorry. Don't throw nothing at me, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'm here to present the Treasurer's Report as of the end of March. As of the end of March, we have $63,962,000 in assets for the district, including in this figure our district investments that total $52,140,000. Our collateral report shows a total of $41,600,000 of collateral that's pledged to the district. Our deposits that require collateral total $16,318,000, leaving an available balance of collateral to the district of $25,282,000. Any questions?
No. Next item.
In the activity funds, receipts as of March 31st have totaled $5,875,000. Disbursements total $4,450,000, leaving an ending cash balance in the activity funds of $4,401,000.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item 103, Ms. Metavalis.
Glad you didn't call me Mr. Metavalis.
You definitely would have thrown something at me.
Yeah, that would have been dangerous for you.
Yeah.
First item are the encumbrance orders. They total $1,226,767.57 for March 7th through April 11th. We did cut off spending more or less for most funds. We know there are going to be exceptions that come through, but we did cut it off April 1st. So the next one you see should be much smaller.
Discussion or questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second that motion?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 104.
The change orders tonight are totaling a decrease of $129,258.43. Same period of time, March 7th through April 10th. Would recommend your approval of those change orders.
Recommend approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, 105. Consider any new business. There are none. Next item would be to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you.